So, Warhammer 40K has been around for, funnily enough, about 40 years, and over that time our little hobby has gone from being a tiny miniature store in England into a worldwide production powerhouse, with thousands of unique miniatures being sold all over the world. With Warhammer 40K's continually rising success, we've enjoyed seeing more mainstream appeal to our little plastic men, with the likes of Henry Cavill being brought on to executively produce an Amazon TV show, something that I know we're all tentatively looking forward to and crossing our fingers that they do justice to the lore that we all know and love. And to celebrate Warhammer 40K's appeal in mainstream pop culture, we wanted to do a little video in ode to some of the other forms of media that have gone out of their way to reference the grim darkness of the far future. And in an effort to do that, I've brought on to help a good friend of our channel, Alex, aka the Gaming Storyteller.
Hi everybody, my name is Alex, the Gaming Storyteller, and as a connoisseur of the intricacies of the Warhammer 40k mythos, it's been really great to learn about and research some of these wonderful references together with Tom from Astartes Anonymous. So without further ado, let's talk about 10 times other forms of pop culture have referenced Warhammer 40k. So starting right off the bat with number 10, we have to talk about South Park. South Park has been known for making countless references over the years to celebrities, controversies and current events.
Though usually to dunk on celebrities or political figures for either their ineptitude or total lack of self-awareness.
But something that's a little less known is the duo behind South Park's creation, Matt Stone and Trey Parker's enjoyment of wargaming. And as ode to this enjoyment, they gave the grimdark tabletop game a featurette in episode 6 of season 26 of the show, Spring Break.
In the episode, Randy encourages Stan to go wild over Spring Break, with Stan asking if he can play Warhammer 40k. Randy, not realizing what the game actually is, encourages Stan, who then proceeds to invite Tolkien round to play the tabletop game.
Now realizing that Warhammer isn't the exciting fun game that he imagined, Randy laments over Stan and Tolkien playing the game, with Stan playing the Sisters of Battle and Tolkien playing the Raven Guard. Though a fun little thing that the creators threw in there just for us, that people who've never played the game likely would have missed, is that the interaction they're playing out on the tabletop shows Stan's shooting phase, where he targets one of Tolkien's Space Marine gunships.
What makes this interaction so special is that the stats and rolls they make are actually completely in line with the 9th edition of 40k. The live edition at the time of the episode's airing if those units on the table were to interact, adding a second layer to the Easter egg just there for those who actually play the tabletop game.
This little lovely reference adds to the ensemble of mentions made to the different facets of nerd culture, referenced by the adult cartoon over the years, ranging from World of Warcraft, D&D to Magic the Gathering.
Moving on to our number 9 slot, we need to talk about the fabled SCP Foundation. Known for being one of the largest fan-driven repositories of unsettling fiction over the last 2 decades, the written contributions to the SCP Foundation are absolutely massive, with terrifying creatures that dwell beneath the ocean driving people insane, all the way to an IKEA store that goes on literally forever.
But for the SCP Foundation's entry into this list, we have to talk about the saddest little ultramarine that ever was, SCP-3973. 3973 was once upon a time just a normal tactical marine from the 2013 6th edition Tactical Marines run of Space Marines. To the eyes for all intents and purposes, 3973 was just a normal bog standard tactical marine painted up in the colors of the Ultramarines.
However, not all was normal with this little fella, as one day an agent of the SCP Foundation was attending a 40k tournament, and during his time there he heard rumours that a player was facing disciplinary action for cheating, making utterly impossible dice rolls. Now, rumours conflict here a little bit, as some say upon being caught out he left the tournament leaving his entire army behind, and others saying that he left behind just a single model.
Though what we do know is that single model was 3973, a seemingly totally inanimate miniature, his reason at the time unknown to us. The SCP agent saw fit to retrieve the model and bring it back to the Foundation where tests were run, the SCP staff quickly realizing this miniature was no ordinary lump of plastic, as dice rolls made within a 50 cm radius of it would typically land on 6s consistently.
Because of this, the miniature was classified as an anomalous object. However, this would change to being classified as a safe class SCP, in light of the fact that a number of researchers realized the miniature actually had a degree of sentience by using dice rolls to create a number-to-letter system, a rudimentary form of dialogue that they shared with this little ultramarine.
And whilst we don't know exactly what was transcribed between the researchers and the miniature, the prevailing theory is that all the little guy wants is to return to his battle brothers and help them win battles once again.
Quickly for number 8, in Marvel's first Doctor Strange movie, as Strange rummages through the books of Kamar-Taj, we catch a glimpse of a book called the Codex Imperium.
This is a really straightforward reference to the 40K's Codex Astartes, the book that for the most part instructs the Space Marines of the Imperium as to how they can orchestrate themselves both in structure and in battle.
It's really great to know that our lovely little hobby has made at least a small appearance in the most successful cinematic universe of all time.
Fingers crossed that Amazon's 40K series spawns something even greater.
And coming in for our number 7 is going to be one of a handful of video game references made to Warhammer 40K over the years. In the incredible roguelike game Enter the Gungeon, there are two great weapon references to Warhammer 40K's Holy Bolter, in the form of the Jolter and the Dragonfire. With the Jolter having high enemy knockback and tiny explosive rounds to go alongside its namesake, it's a wonderful reference to the Space Marine firearm of choice, the Bolter.
But the Jolter's reference doesn't just end there, as if you acquire the Demon Head item in-game, you can activate the "There is only war" synergy, referencing the same tagline that Warhammer has been using for pretty much the last 4 decades.
In addition to the Jolter, the game also has a weapon known as the Dragonfire that you can use. The funny thing about the Dragonfire is that unlike the Jolter, it actually looks an awful lot like the Space Marine Bolter. Not only that, but it fires flaming ammunition, a reference to Warhammer 40K's Dragonfire bolt rounds, used predominantly by the Space Marines of the Deathwatch chapter to hunt down Xenos.
Now for number 6. In the Expanse television show, there is a moment during Season 3, Episode 1, Fight or Flight, where Kamina Drummer says to Fred Johnson, "A cathedral converted into a warship sounds like the heart of a great and lasting nation," in a sarcastic tone, clearly referencing the many warships at the Imperium of Man's disposal that are essentially spacefaring weaponized cathedrals.
But this actually counts as a bit of a double entry, as in the novel Persepolis Rising, which is the 7th novel in the Expanse series, we get a good description of the Laconian Marines, as power-armoured warriors clad in blue and gold armour with an eagle across their chest, a clear reference to the poster boys of Warhammer 40k, the Ultramarines.
It's become a prevailing fan theory that author James S.A. Corey is a Warhammer 40k enjoyer, with his work occupying the same dystopian sci-fi space as much of the works by Games Workshop's authors.
Now with number 5, we're going to quickly hop back to video games and talk about Halo Infinite. Now for context, there are actually a bunch of references in Halo Infinite that give homage to Warhammer 40k, which can usually be found in the armor colours and their accompanying descriptors, my favourite being the blue armor cosmetic called the Ultramarine Core, again a very obvious reference to the poster boys, the Ultramarines.
However, the one that is most stark that we need to mention here is the Fleur-de-Lis emblem. Now of course, the Fleur-de-Lis imagery has been synonymous with France for hundreds of years. However, in Halo Infinite, when selecting the Fleur-de-Lis emblem for your Spartan, you can clearly see the tagline stating, "Nuns with guns, not this time, Buster," a very clear reference to our beloved Sisters of Battle, whose prevailing heraldry for the last 40 years has also been that of the Fleur-de-Lis due to its ancient holy connotations with feminine figures.
And now marching onwards to number 4, we've got another video game entry from the beloved Borderlands series.
Isn't there like a bunch in Borderlands?
There is, but there's one that's super blatant that also happens to be my favourite, that I want to mention here.
Daka Bear?
Yes, the Daka Bear ability.
So basically in Borderlands 3, when choosing to play as Mose the Gunner, your special ability is to activate her Iron Bear mech suit, a massive round mech suit that also doubles as a vicious sentry turret / protector.
And like with all of the Borderlands 3 characters and classes, you can tech into one of a few different skill trees.
One of those skill trees allows the user to select the Daka Bear ability, an ability which in simple terms ramps up the firepower of the Iron Bear. And if you were unsure, the phrase Daka is a reference to Warhammer 40k's orcs, the greenskin Xenos menace that rampages across the galaxy for nothing more than a good old fight.
And the phrase Daka is essentially one of many rudimentary bits of orc lingo that basically just means firepower.
Though, another one of Moses' skills that we have to mention is simply called Salamander, which gives the Iron Bear access to a flamethrower. And while salamanders are often associated with fire across all mythos, we like to believe this too is a reference to Warhammer 40k in the form of the fire-obsessed salamanders chapter, as the Borderlands series is filled with subtle references to the grimdark universe.
Adding on to our plethora of video game entries, we need to talk about The Last of Us.
Oh, please do.
In The Last of Us 2, scattered throughout the game, you can find off-brand Warhammer 40k Space Marines scattered just about anywhere.
Curiously enough, there is even a room in the game where you can see an entire game of 40k that had been abandoned as the apocalypse began. And I'm not going to lie, this room might be mine. The Last of Us has honestly left me terrified of the possibility of mushroom zombies.
Yeah, I feel that, man. With a little bit of luck, the Henry Cavill 40K show will have the same kind of production quality as the Last of Us TV show. Honestly, just a really great homage to the game.
And for number 2, we're going to quickly mention Bethesda's Starfield. A fun yet small entry into this list is the fact that you can actually travel to a planet called Catonia in a system designated as the Wolf system. This is actually the only reference on this list that outright references Warhammer 40k's Horus Heresy as opposed to 40k itself. You see, the Horus Heresy was in short the prequel to Warhammer 40k, and it was largely kicked off by one of the Primarch generals of the Space Marines turning traitor. That Primarch was called Horus Lupercal, and his legion of Space Marines were known as the Luna Wolves, and originated from the planet of Catonia.
This subtle nod to the grimdark future is truly wonderful, as the 50-plus novels surrounding the events of the Horus Heresy have become etched in the annals of nerd history as some of the most massive and esoteric of all nerdy lore. And just before we show off our final entry, we wanted to quickly thank you all for helping our channel reach 40,000 subscribers. We have a Discord link down below if you want to know more, and a Patreon too if you want to help us make more fun content and help steer the direction of our videos, podcast, and shorts.
Stop shilling, you idiot. We've got one final one to go.
Of course.
Pretty much everyone and their mother knows about Rick and Morty. And of course, Rick and Morty's tremendous amount of meta references to pop culture. However, most people aren't actually aware that there has been a run of Rick and Morty comics giving us insight into even more melancholic adventures of the child plus alcoholic scientist duo.
And in one such comic, there's a panel where Morty finds himself inside a type of gaming/comic book store of sorts.
And whilst he's there, he looks up on a shelf with a familiar silhouette atop of it.
The silhouette clearly belonging to that of an off-brand knockoff Chaos Space Marine with a huge title below it saying Starhammer.
And more text below that, saying, in space there's tons of blood, skulls and ennui, making light of the 40k blood god Khorne's chant. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne.
And for those of you curious about the word ennui, it essentially translates to boredom or lethargy, making fun of the fact that our hobby can sometimes be a bit tedious. Although, with that being said, Moots, our resident Swedish/French orc, tells me that in the right context it can also refer to troubles as a generalistic sort of thing, of which there is a bountiful amount in Warhammer 40k.
And that's it! We really hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you did, and do let us know of any great references to the grim darkness of the far future that we couldn't fit in this video, and we'll look at smashing out another 10.
And of course, please take some time to venture over to the Gaming Storytellers channel, all linked down below, and drop a subscription there too. Alex makes some of the most exceptional 40k lore content, and some of the best 40k lore shorts going on the platform right now.
Thank you all for watching.
See you next time, everybody. And once again, thank you so much to our blessed patrons. Without you guys, we couldn't keep doing this. Thank you so much.